I'm Beth Guckenberger, and this is the Reckless Faith Podcast. I'm here today with my friend, Dr. Rob Hall, and colleague at Back to Back Ministries. Thanks for being with us.
Dr. Rob Hall. You went all formal today.
Just thought I would,
You outed me to everybody.
Dr. Robert.
Good to be with you again. And day 20.
I know.
We're just
halfway through, friends.
Churning through, halfway through.
Halfway through.
Such great stuff. I have so enjoyed the conversation. I hope people are enjoying the bonus material. Obviously that they're enjoying the book and the actions that they're taking, the experiences that they're thinking about, all the stuff. Today you're going to ask people to do something, or you're asking people to do something that makes them feel foolish.
Yeah, we have that example in our Bibles all the way back to David, right? Think about David and his dancing and the foolishness that looked like. And I think when we see Christians make decisions that don't make sense to the world, we have to just remind ourselves that we are citizens of another place, and that there's a different value system and way in which we live and move and have our being. The clothing drive story and what that kicked off in my life, I didn't realize what my dad had done until, much, much later in life. And I still think that people would look at his choices and think of a better way that he could have handled it. But what the result of his obedience to what he said was the Spirit's prompting in his life, what it evoked in me, we're still living in the fruit of that. And Todd and I, we just had dinner the other night with some friends of ours from India who were in the U.S. visiting, Dr. John and Jay Amani there. They've been faithful to the Lord, ministering for almost 60 years now. Like, when people who have been faithful for that long are at your dinner table, you just ask questions, really.
Right.
That's what
get out of the way and listen.
Yeah, who cares what I'm doing? I just want to know, how are you still doing it? And I finally, about halfway through the night, they were telling about the things that the Lord had asked of them and the ways that they were involved still. And I was thinking, how, like physically, how are you doing it? Like, how are you making it all happen? So I finally asked a version of that, like how do you sustain it all? In fact, we were having a pretty late dinner. We were getting done about 9:00, and they were going to drive from our city after dinner to another city 2.5 hours away. And I was like, you are? I mean, I'm going home and going to bed. Like, how do you do this? And so anyway, I asked that question, and Jayamani, the wife, answered, "Oh, Beth, it's about prayer. You know about prayer, right?" And I'm like, "Yes, I know about prayer. I read a whole book about prayer. Yes, I love prayer." And she's like, "Well, we have so much to do. You couldn't do it without prayer." And I said, I do pray, and I'm still not feeling the way you're feeling. So tell me what happens. And Dr. John said, "Well, what time do you start in the morning to pray?" And I said, "Well, as soon as I wake up." I thought that was the right answer. And he just kind of smiled and shook his head. He goes, that's good. And she said, we wake up between 4 and 5 in the morning to begin praying. And we pray till about 7 when we eat breakfast. And I said, "You pray for 2 to 3 hours in the morning?" And Dr. John said, "There's no way we could do everything in our day without that. If we didn't start that way, we just wouldn't be able to do all of this. That is the secret." And I thought, oh my gosh, that doesn't make sense. What makes sense is rest well, eat a good breakfast, take days off, pace yourself. Like, how is this your secret sauce? And I realized, like, it works for them, and God has led them to it and empowered them through it. And that kind of otherworldly way of living is what God has asked us to.
Yeah, those are important concepts. You talk about rest and all. Absolutely, those are biblical things, right? But there's this stretching, this thing that they showed you that perhaps I could do work perhaps even more than I was now.
It certainly was a conviction to me that instead of like saying, "Oh Lord, this is what my day looks like. Could you be with me every step of it?"
Yeah.
It was like, "Lord, what would you have me do every step of my day?"
Yeah. The title of this chapter 20, "The Beginning of a Much Larger Adventure, Yes to a Childlike Faith." Perhaps lost in that story that you just told is this idea of Zechariah 4:10. You are seeing the end of 60 years of work, like the fruit of 60 years of work. Those folks began with a childlike faith. Zechariah 4, do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. I think we referred to it a couple days back. Those beginnings sometimes feel foolish. They don't make sense. They like, how does all this fit together? And it could stop us instead of just, hey, like a childlike faith, just get started.
Yeah. And I think about even any of us that work with children, when they have promptings, ideas, callings, any kind of expression of faith, we can as adults be so quick to try to mold it, direct it, control it, refine it, even correct it. And it's like, oh gosh, if we would just, in this particular instance for me, I am sure that both of my parents probably thought of other ways I could have exercised this growing heart I was having inside of me for people from other places. But it was like, this is what she wants to do. We're going to join her in it. We're going to empower her through it, and we're going to cheer her on for it. And like that feels to me like what our role should be when people are taking their first steps. Just cheer them on.
I want to make sure that we have time to hear your action step. Do something unusual with your clothing today. Wear your shirt inside out or backwards, for example, as a reminder that sometimes God will ask us to look foolish for his sake. What a great physical reminder that sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes it's just a little step. So I want to hear how you did on this one.
Well, I wore my shirt inside out, and it was funny to me how I could be in a room and I know that I would notice that people noticed and then were afraid to say something to me. Like they didn't want to embarrass me, or they didn't want, and I thought about, gosh, what other very obvious thing is going on in my life that somebody might see and be afraid to approach me on? And then I found myself really grateful for the people who took the moment to go, hey, did you know, I can see your tag, like, you know, your shirt's on inside out. And I'm like, instead of feeling like, don't tell me what I don't have, there was a gratefulness to me that somebody was willing to, like, it's not much different than when you have food on your face or something, and you're like thinking to yourself, I care enough about you that I'm going to point something out to you. And I thought, oh, I hope that I am in relationships where people approach and address me when I'm acting in seeing ways, so they can either cheer me on or.
It's almost like in today's, there's almost like I want to do like 5 more podcasts, bonus material to the bonus material, because I can think of like 100 things that like, well, what about that? And so what's really cool about that is the people who are listening, I hope that they will then go do this with someone else. Like, hey, let's talk about my experience. And because there's so much ripe conversation in the midst of an action step like this, like wear your shirt inside out and feel foolish, and what can I learn from that? And so I love this action step. Hey, if you have a reckless faith, a 40-day journey to saying yes, we hope the podcast keeps you focused on having meaningful conversations today with God and with others. If you're here and haven't yet gotten a copy, you can find it on Amazon, or for the book and other resources, visit backtoback.org/40days. That's BACK, the number 2, BACK.org/40days.
I just want to thank everyone for being on this journey towards a more reckless faith. And until next time.